What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Quick and Dirty Marketing Tips. So we're going to change things up a little bit for the next couple of videos, probably like maybe 4 or 6 videos, and we're going to dive in and do a little bit more of a deep dive in traffic. Okay, so today's topic, we're going to go over Google AdWords' pay-per-click or PPC advertising. Now, there's a ton of stuff out there about how to set up campaigns, and the dashboard's always kind of changing, and they're tweaking stuff. They've got all these recommendations and cool stuff this year, and relevancy scores and kind of new tricks and things. But the core, sort of value proposition or the core tooling of the system has been the same for a hell long time. And really what that's all about is putting an ad alongside some sort of search query on Google's search dashboard. So when somebody goes into the Google dashboard and they type, something that they're looking for, and you have an ad that's associated with that search query, there's a potential that your ad could be shown to that person, depending on how much you're willing to bid to put that advertising in front of them. So there's sort of 2 steps that happen there. The person has to search for something that you have in your list, and those are called keywords, right? And then you also have to win the bid to get that placement there at the top of the page. So those 2 sort of critical elements really haven't changed at all with PPC. There's a lot of other features, but all that's around optimization and audience development. They've got some cool new audience tools now that you can layer in with your keywords. The keyword research tools have definitely gotten better over the years, and there's all that. So let's talk about the sort of tricks of the 2 pieces that I think are kind of where you have to get things right. One of them clearly is getting in front of prospects, and that's sometimes the trick with a lot of advertising. In this case, the theory is that if somebody searches for something that's relevant to your business, that there's some sort of buyer intent, or there's an intent there that they're interested in what you have to offer. Now, that's questionable, and there's a lot of arguments back and forth that them searching for something that you might be bidding on doesn't necessarily connect to their willing to buy or their purchasing intent. However, it's a pretty close, it gets you pretty close. But clearly the trick there is the keyword research thing is a really important element to how that's going to, play out and how well the campaign's going to do. Now, I can give you, we're going to go over kind of what we do with it, but I've got some angles on that and how to leverage and do better with that. But that's a big part about it. And then the other piece is, what are you going to budget and what are you going to bid? And then the third part of that is, and here's my experience with this, is, you can put your, you got to write a little ad, right? So it's kind of almost like a Twitter thing. I mean, you don't get a lot of characters. You kind of get a headline, a little snippet. They've given you more now than they used to in the past, which is great, but it's pretty abrupt, and we still follow that 3 to 5 word rule that we've talked about on another video. So go back and watch that. Or wait, this is YouTube. Here, click and watch the 3 to 5 word video, and then come back and finish this video. There you go. Okay, so you got to come up with something good. Now, in my opinion, it's not good enough, and you're really just not going to get a lot of response if you don't have that, some sort of compelling offer, and I think that PPC is really a good time to put an offer on the table. PPC is not a place for you to do branding or awareness. It's just not compelling enough, and there's some other reasons why, as we go down kind of like my notes here, that you're really just not going to get a lot of action on, name of their business, best business in town. It's okay, that's not really going to do much. The other thing too is, just from a psychological standpoint, you got to remember that people don't really remember what they read on a little snip like that as much as they do read, as much as they remember a picture of, like, say, your logo and kind of what you do. So our brains are wired to remember visual images, faces, like, oh, I know I've seen that person before, or this place looks super familiar. Like, did we see this in a picture? We have an incredible capacity to remember visual images and a not so great capacity to remember one-liners and stuff like that are just, flashed in front of us. They just don't do well with they're just not very memorable. So the way to get action on that is to put something that's compelling, that's going to stop that person. So remember, we've all done this. You search for something, the results come up, and you got a couple of little ads at the top. How are you going to stop them from scrolling to those organic results below? Or if they have both on the page displayed at the same time and they have the organic results, it's so-and-so office, blah, 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 and there's like no offer because that's just their organic search results. That's like their homepage or whatever, a blog post or something, right? But above that, you got your ad, and it's like 25% off whatever this comparable niche is. That starts to be like, wait a second, if I click this organic thing, I'm not getting any deal here. I'm just, whatever. But this guy is willing to give me 25% off, and I'm looking for this thing, So I advocate that in PPC that, putting an offer into the PPC and then landing them, of course, on a page that, is relevant to that and shows them how to get the thing that you're offering is really as important to get that continuity. So you're not going to want to use this, I guess what I'm saying, for branding and awareness. Now, the caveat to that, and goes into sort of the best use as we move out of the tricks, right? So tricks are compelling offer, good keyword research, and a proper bidding, depending on, how hard you want to push on those, depending on the keyword value and so forth. So, and they do get expensive. I mean, we have law firms and things that'll pay $25 a click, and it sounds crazy, and sometimes more in like LA and stuff. I've got people I know out there that are bidding on keywords. They're up $20, $30, $40, $50 a click. That only works when your client value is in the tens of thousands of dollars. You can afford that acquisition cost. You can spend $1,500 to get one person. But if you're like most businesses, where your customer relationship might be like $1,000 to $3,000 per year, you can't really spend that kind of money to acquire the customer. The next thing on this that I want to cover is, sort of what are good uses of it? Well, besides throwing offers out and getting them in front of, people on search results, the other application we've used PPC for is to shore up crappy SEO or SEO that's just been started, right? So if you're not ranking for something that you wish you were ranking for, but either SEO is going to take time, because it always does, or just was never started, and you realize that you've got this customer channel that you're completely missing, PPC is a great way to jump into that traffic lane without the time lag that SEO work would take. Now, I would always advocate that you work on the SEO in the background. Don't abandon that, because SEO is going to be a much stronger position. Coming up in organic searches is a much stronger position in the long run than continually having to pay for ads. The other thing you need to know is that on a page, if there's 100 people that land on these search results, let's say there's 100 searches for that keyword, 100 people land, only about 15 of those people are going to click on ads. The other 85 people are going to click on organic search results. So the organic search results are always more valuable. And, so therefore they're worth the time investment to get in there and rank for those keywords that are important to your business. But if you're not, or you didn't deal with it, or something changed and you need to, like I say, get into a new lane, then this is probably a good way to at least jumpstart that and get in front of some traffic, in this area where your SEO is very poor. But don't abandon, working to rank for those keywords. And once you rank for them on page one, stop paying for ads or bid lower, and only take low bid times or something like that. The other part about this that we want to cover is what we typically do, and I kind of covered it, touched on it. I like using it for putting offers out into the market, and I like bidding on the competition, which is a whole strategy in itself. But it's not about bidding keywords or like search results. It's just basically about stepping in front of your competition. So that's the sort of golden nugget from this video. Glad you waited. If you watched all the way to now, what I just told you is worth the whatever 6.5 minutes that we got to this part right now. So you can use PPC to get in front of your competition, and typically nobody's spending any money on those keywords because they're not like big broad keywords. They're like the name of the other business. So their referrals, their organic, their mailers, their emails, their all this, their brand awareness and stuff, you can just step in front of them by bidding on their name, and it's usually typically very cheap. So we do that quite a bit, and we use it again to shore up SEO. So it's the best spots that I like it to generate traffic for are putting an offer out into the niche that's meaningful and that actually is compelling, was get some action back, shoring up poor SEO, and then stepping in front of the competition, which is always a blast to do and typically very affordable. So run with those couple ideas. If you need help with anything that, of course, get a hold of us. In the meantime, if you like this video or kind of got your head straight on what this could work for you versus just, the one thing I do caution, just don't just throw money at this and think it's like some miracle pill, because it's not. It's part of a bigger thought, a bigger strategy, and it fits in well in certain spots. But don't be sold on the idea like, oh, I'm going to do PPC ads and like my business is going to grow. It's not that simple. It's a complicated system. It's got a lot of variables. It can get expensive. You do need to know what you're doing, but you also need to know how it fits in with an overall strategy, and it can be done with a good budget and done well. It just, like I say, you just got to take your time and walk through it. So if this helped you, go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the notifications. We do a video pretty much every week. I think we've been really steady with that, so we're going to keep it up. And then watch for the rest of this series, because we're going to go into Facebook, we're going to go into media buying, and we're going to go into the other elements of Google, which is YouTube video advertising, display, and some of the intent-based audience data that's now available there on the retail side, which is super cool. So there's a lot of more angles to this coming up. So go ahead and make sure that you get notified when we do a new video. We'll see you on the next one.